There are 4 questions. In just a few moments, we're going to get into groups and answer the questions. Now, these 4 questions, instead of pertaining to statistics, are going to pertain to what makes a good teacher. So, what I have for you are these 4 questions. So, write these down, and then we'll get into the groups that we used the other day, and find some answers to these. Okay, first question. What expectations do students have about teachers? What is it you expect when you come into a classroom? Question number 1. What expectations do students have about teachers? What is it you expect when you come into a classroom? Okay? Number 2. What are the qualities of a good teacher? What are the things that makes a good teacher? What are the things you look for? Number 3, what does a good instructor do to create a good learning environment? What does an instructor do to create a good learning environment? All right. And number 4, how does a good instructor prepare you for the future? Good morning.
Hi.
All right. Whether it's for a job or transferring. So question number 4, what does a good instructor do to prepare you for the future, both for transferring and for the job situation, if you're going into the job situation? Okay? All right, so get into the same groups that we used on Friday, and we'll come back in a few minutes, and I want you to brainstorm in your groups, come up with the answers or the solutions that you all come up with, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so get in your groups.
He's totally lost because he wasn't here.
You ready? Y'all finish? You got your list? Okay. All right. Okay, so if we have this all tied up, let's go on and look at some of our solutions. All right, Terry, you want to start with the first question?
Sure.
What are some of the expectations that students have about their instructors? In this group over here, what kind of solutions or answers did you come up with?
Well, I think that my teacher should be very knowledgeable about the topic and show a sincere interest in
Good.
keeps the students motivated and interested.
Good, motivated and interested, okay? What else?
Okay. She should be aware and understand today's students because it's a diverse crowd now. It's not like it used to be, where it's all high school students.
And we have a much more diverse student body than we did in the past. They need to be concerned with that and make adjustments to that. Good, good. Okay?
Well, the instructors, professional appearance, she dresses,
So you expect professionalism in their appearance. Good. Okay. Andrew, have anything else to add to that?
We expect the teacher to give us a comprehensive syllabus.
A syllabus, that's always good. So you know what to expect from the class, what's going to cover. What else?
And we expect the teacher to have other activities besides lecture,
Oh, you expect other activities, such as?
like the M&M exercise.
The M&M exercise, okay. All right, good. All right, any others from here about expectations? You got it covered?
There should be plenty of interaction between not only the students and the teacher, but student to student.
You expect interaction, student to student as well as teacher and student. Good, good.
new ideas, new concepts. Things change. A way to help the students better understand.
Okay, good.
Too.
All right, you did a good job. Is that about it? Okay, thank you. All right, question 2. Okay, Corey, Kim, Mike, you had that one, right?
Right.
And that said, what are the qualities of a good instructor? Okay, what'd y'all come up with?
We came up with a lot, but basically, what I think makes a good teacher, the word teaching just doesn't mean get up in front of the classroom and talking. To teach is to make the students learn. So you just can't get up there and teach, but you got to enjoy what you're doing instead of just get up there and talking. But if you want to explain things on the board, that's making the teacher's prepared to go in and talk about what she's going to teach the students.
need to be prepared.
So it's not just going up and telling them, or just talking, but to be able to write things on the board, explain things, take your time, if a problem has to be gone over 2 or 3 times, then she'll do it. So that comes along with patience. And teachers gotta have patience. And be able to take her time to explain it, and that also goes along with being enjoying what she's doing. Because if she has to explain it over and over and over again, she may not have the patience and she may not enjoy it. She just may want that hour to go ahead and finish up real quick so she can go on to the next class. But you don't do that.
Oh, okay.
No, but she's also got to try to feel out each individual, because every individual in the class has basically a different personality. Not everybody wants to raise their hand and talk. But each teacher has got to be able to understand that every individual has a different personality. Got to be available.
Inside class as well as outside of class.
This is carrying good goes along with being a good teacher as far as enjoying what she wants to do and be able to explain it. So that's being caring, and also being prepared. And in order to do that, she's got to have good communications. And to have good communications, she's probably a good teacher, which is not, which doesn't make it point for the class.
All right, good. All right, Kim, you have anything you want to add to that?
She should be well educated, know what she's talking about. And we should not just get up there and follow breaking the book, word for word.
Okay, Michael?
I think the teacher should be able to make her students feel comfortable.
Feel comfortable?
As far as what she's teaching, assignments that she has for me, something that can feel like she's coming down on anything like that. I think she should make the students feel comfortable.
Good. All right, y'all did a good job. All right, any others that you want to add to that? Got it covered? All right. Michael? Got it? All right, y'all did a good job, thank you. All right, now number 3, over here. Y'all come up with number 3. Now this one was dealing with environment, right? What makes a good learning environment? Let me close the door. Put out some windows. All right. So what'd y'all come up with? Who's your spokesperson?
Well, we broke it down.
Oh, you broke it down. Oh, okay,
Each
good.
of us have a little
All right.
to talk about.
Go right ahead.
Okay, first point we had was a teacher keeping control of the classroom. A lot of other conversations going on, that type of thing. The second thing was, that we thought was important was that there's no competition among the students, that the teacher encourages the students to work together and help each other as well.
Good. So you're not competing, you're working together.
I focused on the environment, which is basically the classroom. This stuff is not necessarily dependent on the instructor, on you. It's just things in the classroom that can make, the classroom more efficient, more better for us. We have this leaky ceiling problem. We have, climate control problems. Sometimes it's too hot in here, sometimes it's too cold. You can't open the windows because it's all the noise outside. I feel if we have more comfortable desks, we can perform better, more cushion seating and stuff. The lighting in here sometimes, like when the ceiling leaks, the lights go out and stuff like that. I think the window position should be taken into an aspect, because sometimes the glare on the blackboard and you can't see, and if you're in certain positions where if they put them in the back of the room, it wouldn't be such a bad glare as it is on the side and stuff. I think we need more blackboard space, because some people don't write as fast as others, and you're constantly up there erasing, and some people slow write and they don't necessarily get to it before
Chalk
you're
just
erasing.
flying.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Good, all right.
Also, I think teachers should have enthusiasm in the subject matter she's teaching, have multiple approaches to learning. For example, have group and brainstorming, also a variety of activities and projects. And what's important is to have a relaxed atmosphere.
Good. Relaxed atmosphere. All right, anything else to add to the list?
Something to add. To talk about the Air Force about using noise abatement procedures when landing for takeoffs and approaches. We can't move the college and they can't change their flight path, but at least they can practice noise abatement. When the flight of 4 jets go off, it stops 10 minutes of class.
All right, good point, good point. Nice job, all right. And then last but not least, y'all had, and you dealt with the future. What kind of good instructor do to help you with the future, job-wise or going on to a four-year institution?
Well, that's one of the biggest things that the instructor can do, so they can relate the courses being taught to the curriculum that people are going to have in the future, whether they're going to Christopher Newport or to Norfolk State or any other college. They need to know what curriculum that subject is required for and apply that to that. Use real world situations. Our M&M experiment was a real world situation. We used a prop to perform a statistics problem, and everybody enjoyed it.
Okay, good, all right. So the M&M was successful.
Build confidence in students instead of being demeaning. You don't point out anybody in the class that's not doing well. You talk to them later after class and tell the students how well they're doing as a class overall. It's very important.
Encourage them.
Encourage them. And ask opinions of the students. How do you think the classes go? You're learning what you expected to learn. Is the class meeting the expectations that you have? That's very important.
Okay, good. Gwen, anything you want to add to that?
They can help build your interpersonal skills, writing, and build your confidence.
Good. Okay, Maggie?
You can have a relationship with them where you could discuss other things that not necessarily pertain to school, like your education, and they can guide you in the right direction on what classes to take and things like that.
That's good. All right. Anything else? Y'all did a nice job. Did a good job. All right. So as you can see, what's happening in education is the shift is changing. It's not all teacher focused, where you have the teacher up in front of the classroom lecturing straight for 55 minutes. What's happening now, the emphasis is in engaging the students in different activities, getting them to be responsible for and participate in their own learning. And that's hopefully what you saw here today, where we were working in groups. They came out with their ideas and their solution, and they presented them. So I thank you, and hope you come back again.
First thing I'd like you to do is just in a single sentence summarize Montaigne's one main idea. Remember we looked at Montaigne last week in that essay on cannibals. It's pretty clear he was kind of jumping all over the place, especially in the first couple of pages or several paragraphs. What I'd like you to do, and you can go ahead and look at the essay itself, find determine in one sentence what his main point is. I'm going to use Montaigne as a kind of jumping off point for our conversation about Don Quixote. Second thing that I just want to ask, and this is just to kind of get you focused today, is what is your favorite episode in Don Quixote? And obviously there's no right or wrong answer here, although there is here. Or there are some that are closer and some that won't be as close. So identify for me which episode of Don Quixote you enjoyed the most. You could do either one. If you can zero in on one single sentence in the text, that would be pretty exciting. But you can also do it in your own words. Yes, ma'am. Can you borrow my book? It's got all the answers in it. We'll just take about 5 minutes just to get you focused. Mainly, this does two things. First of all, it gets you sort of focused today, especially since I want to bridge our conversation on Montaigne to our conversation on Don Quixote. It also gives you a chance to focus on Don Quixote and see where we go with that story. What's that? And I'm going to read it, yes. It's going to kind of give me some idea of, it'll give me some idea of how much sense the Montaigne. And oh, don't worry about it, sloppy. Reminders. Registration, early registration began yesterday. So you want to make sure that you have seen your faculty advisor, especially those of you who will be planning to graduate in May, which I think is probably several people in here, right? Okay. So don't forget to do that. You need to get your permit to register card and get your faculty advisor to sign off on it. Please do that.
You're self-advised, you don't have
You sure don't. If you're self-advised, you don't have to get the faculty signature, which is a good thing for other folks who may be here at the college for a while to realize. You can apply for self-advising status, go to the admissions office and get the application there. And then you don't have to go through the whole procedure of having your faculty advisor sign up for it.
What is the Hampton? I know some of the names have Hampton.
Hampton Building. The Hampton Building is just off campus on Butler Farm Road. You know that? Way over there. Well, it's way, yes. It's about 300 feet off the campus, though. The ITT building, because ITT used to have its offices there. But it's simply known as Hampton 3. Yeah, we're going to be in room 7 something or other. 729? Okay. I don't know why that switched, but anyway, there you go. Start walking now. It takes a while. Okay, let me ask you, let me go ahead and pass those up if you would, please, because I want to take a look at them between now and Thursday. We talked a fair amount about Montaigne and Montaigne's essay on cannibals last week. Let me get some kind of idea from you. What would you identify as his one central point?
Real values are necessary what culture would like to do, how we would like to know culture.
Buy that? Okay. Anybody disagree with that?
I don't disagree, I have another.
Okay, go ahead.
I got that they were, even though the cannibals were savage, as far as eating people when they had to, their other actions, as far as their other naked eyes, were more Christian than the Christians themselves.
So even though they weren't in any way Christian, these primitives, these indigenous peoples of South America, even though they weren't Christian in any, they simply hadn't heard about the religion, their lives were apparently far more virtuous, Montaigne was saying, provided to exclude cannibalism, far more virtuous than the lives of the colonizers in Brazil. What we can call that is, by this phrase, cultural relativism. That is the notion that we evaluate or judge cultures not necessarily by our own standards, but by the standards of the culture itself. To try to apply some measure of tolerance to communities and individuals that are different from us. These notions of cultural relativism or tolerance in our own time are produced in a phenomenon known as multiculturalism. Some of you may be aware of that phrase from things you've read in the newspaper and news magazines and so forth. There's an enormous amount of controversy surrounding multiculturalism. There are many people, for example, in the United States who want to assert English should be our only language here, English should be the official language here. Multiculturalists would say, well, you know, English is sort of the lingua franca, if you will, if you pardon the pun, but it is one of a number of languages that people speak here. Anybody have any variation or anything to some second thoughts on Montaigne's essay on cannibals? Right?
I found a good passage and it kind of makes her point on 25:18.
25:18.
It says, I am not sorry that we notice the barbarous horror of such acts, but I am heartily sorry that judging their faults rightly, we should be so blind to our own.
Yeah. And then he goes on to a fairly lurid description of the kinds of things that Europeans were doing to each other in the religious wars, Protestant pitted against Catholic, Catholic against Protestant. And basically says, you know, eating a man after he's dead isn't nearly so bad as devouring him, if you will, alive, figuratively devouring him alive. It's not so bad as hacking his body apart bit by bit, as might have occurred in the Inquisition or in other campaigns against different religious groups. Good point. Other second thoughts, other nuances to Montaigne's idea. Okay, Mary.
You know, I understand a lot of people's concepts. I really do. People's points about a man's honor is really built in his heart to be true. I understand all that. But I get this man, this aristocrat, sitting in an ivory tower, trying to tell other people what Satan will do.
Okay, so you
I have a
would,
problem with that because he's guilty of the same thing.
okay, and you would say that he is an ivory tower, isolated sort of person.
In a sense, because he's just saying, okay, I'm doing this and I'm not as bad as you.
Do you think that he is being arrogant and condescending?
I think in a sense he is.
Well, and I think you
Because
can.
he acts as if the little interlude that he had with this Brazilian
Well, remember he's.
made him great or gave him something extra special.
Or at least gave him an insight. But you felt that his sort of bearing and his tone and demeanor to his readers is one.
I think he, you know,
And
you
using
should
that.
do this, you should do that. This is so and so and so, please don't say
Yeah.
anything.
Interesting. How do other folks react to Mary's reception?
I just feel like I'm putting it on hospital.
I think though, Mary, I think that's what he's trying to do. I think he's trying to
He comes
speak.
up kind of strong, kind of.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But remember, this is a man who is Catholic with Protestant sympathies. So he has, he sees both Protestantism and Catholicism in France in this very critical juncture, time of tremendous strife and violence. He sees them as relatively valued communities. And he is appalled by the horrendous violence that those sectarian wars and conflict have produced.
And why does he use so many quotes from people long dead?
Oh, why does he use so many quotes from people long dead? That's a good question. Anybody want to field that one? Right, we've actually touched on this before, in a sort of a way.
But his has more than any other we read.
Yeah, oh, it does. It does. And the interesting thing, in Montaigne's tower, in his study, and these are old roof beams that are, wood exposed roof beams. He had carved his favorite quotes on the roof beams, so that when he leaned back, he could see these great words of wisdom.
For the break or right, he was writing one of these quotes and he happened to see him.
Possibly. He was a voracious reader, and remember, this is still a time when in Europe, a man or woman in a lifetime can have read everything that was ever produced. In a lifetime, have read everything. All right, you four, cut it out back there. Yeah, you, Bruno, Waters, Kaufman, Wingo, I'm talking to you. Oh, don't get smart with me, Mr. Bruno. Enough of that smile. Remember, I was a nun in a previous life. And Miss Waters, I am ashamed of you. You could really get a bad rep hanging around with this disreputable bunch of hooligans. I'm going to send you all to the Dean of SS if you don't watch out.
My name is Teresa Frazier, and this is the CHD 146 class that you'll be observing. This is Math Science and Social Studies for the Young Child. Today we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to start with a video about Constance Committee, and then we're going to do a class discussion and follow through on a group exercise. And after that, we're going to come back and share some of those ideas together. So what I have done also is put some things I want you to think about while you're watching the video that are already on the board. So here comes the video, and when it's finished, then we'll come back and okay.
Well, I wrote a book entitled Young Children Read and Think. And in it I say that we began by throwing out the first grade traditional curriculum. Because it is based on the wrong theory about number, how children learn number. And personally, if I had it my way, I would just throw out those worksheets and the do this, do that kind of instruction. Unfortunately, some teachers are not allowed to do that. In which case, I think each teacher has to find her compromise between what she has to do and what really is good for children.
You've written several books that deal with the issue of number in young children, and it sounds as though teachers have a responsibility of learning an awful lot more about the issue.
Yes, teachers and teacher educators.
Thank you so much, Dr. Camille, for your words of wisdom about number and how young children learn number and math and the broader issues of thinking skills and decision making. Thank you.
Okay. Comments?
Why did she bring in the constructivist here?
That's what I'm going to have you try to figure out. Like this nice wheelie thing. Okay, some things I want you to think about. Oh, now that I hit it on you. Repeated experiences, child-initiated Piaget and constructivist theory. Did you find this conversation hard to follow?
Yes.
A little bit. If I had shown you this the second week of class, when we first started talking about Piaget, would you have been in the process of assimilation or accommodation?
At the beginning?
Beginning of the semester. Assimilation, which means what?
You're taking in something new.
And fitting it into what you know.
Yeah.
All right, you think it'd be assimilation? All right, if I showed it to you now like I did today, what is it?
Accommodation.
You sure you don't have that one?
No, because I'm taking what I learned 2 weeks after school started and adapting what I've taken in today to my... That's
What's the definition for assimilation? Taking in information and putting it into process. Okay, without changing what I know. And accommodation is what? Changing what we know. So you got them what? Thanks, Mary. All right, let's back up for a minute. What are the misconceptions that parents and teachers have about how children learn to count?
By rote.
Okay.
Automatic.
All right, speak up so we make sure you're being heard.
They learn it by memorization.
All right, pure memorization.
Right, rather than rationally. Time and ending the number into the numeral.
All right. She didn't use those words, but is that what she was talking about? All right, wrote and rational. All right, thinking about the little story she told about the 4-year-old with the napkins, did that help? I know you guys were laughing when you were listening to her. All right, did that help? All right, what's the difference then between a child being able to count to 30 and being able to do 4 or 5 napkins?
They can see the number, they can see it, like
One to one correspondence.
All right, so they're using,
Relationship.
all right, they're using one-to-one, they're using relationships. What else? Christy?
Well, I was just gonna say that if they can count to 30, basically what it is the child has learned to memorize.
All right,
One,
so
two,
we're
three,
back
four,
again
five.
to what?
So wrote down, but it's pointless. It's pointless, in my opinion, for him to know. Well, I wouldn't say it's pointless because it's like a stepping stone, but he can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But does he know what those numbers mean, or is he just rattling off what he's been taught to say in order?
All right,
It's not rational to him.
All right, Ellen?
The other thing is that if you relate it to Piaget's development of, math concepts, then he's not ready really, in a sense, to tie in the memorization with the relationship of the number, identifying one to one.
This is not an easy concept. Now, what do you do when the parent comes to you and says, my child can count to 30, so they're ready for math? Why aren't you doing more math?
Because he doesn't know what those mean.
If he needs
to relate to number.
Put it in a phrase that you can tell a parent.
Let me bring you 35.
Okay, so you're gonna ask the parent to do what? Say it.
Ask your child if he can bring you 30 objects.
Okay, tell the parent to ask the child if he can bring
Or
it.
can he count out their big Cheerios?
Okay, all right, what else?
30,000.
Poor Lois is so deep in thought over here.
That's what I work with. I can see that.
All right, go back to the first word up there, repeated experience. How can I tie that in with what I'm going to say to a parent?
I would ask the parent, has the child shown her, that he can do this, or explain to her the process we use in the classroom. Maybe I would even bring her the counters that we use, and the child is there, just show her, see if it can be done with that, or maybe use the example that we've seen on video.
All right, with the napkins. That's when a parent could really see. All right. Can you see a tie-in between the example she gives with the napkin back to something we talked about? See if you can remember this. Just the first one. When we talked about the picture of water.
Conservation.
Okay. All right. Does that sort of tie in here? All right. So if the child is at the point where I poured the pitcher of water into the glass and then into the other shaped glass, and he always says, the tall one is more, even though they're both the same. He's probably about the same level that this child is with the napkins. And what would that be in Piaget's theory? What stage?
Operation.
Okay. Pre-operation. Once he gets that, or once that child understood what to do with those napkins, he probably had gone into what?
Concrete.
Gone over to concrete. All right, and that's about the age that we're talking about that. About 5 to 7. Okay. All right, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you a handout to get into some groups. 3 or 4 to a group. And I've got some questions for you. And what I'm going to do is to read them so concepts. I forgot my glasses, I need the big one to read. All right, first question is, and we sort of did that one, what stage of PJ do you think the 4-year-old child is in, and why? What did Dr. Camille suggest to help the child deal with logic and thinking skills? You guys want to come up here? You want to team up or work by yourself? The third one is, what specific activities can you think of?
Need you colder phone?
What specific activities can you think of to help the child learn to think logically and to learn to solve his or her own problems? Then tell me what the teacher's role in the classroom is, and then come up with at least 3 suggestions you would give to a new teacher to help children learn to think logically. Okay, get in groups about 3 and 4.
Allow them to work out their solutions to their own problems.
So let's sort of regroup and get together for a minute. And I know some of you have answered at least one of the questions, so let's start with number 1. What stage of Piaget do you think the 4-year-old is in, and then why? Edith, you want to share what you wrote down?
I said he was in the pre-operational stage, and why the child think, what's that? The child just
Because the child, pre-operational stage, because the child was solving his own problem. His mother, let him solve the problems on his own instead of, telling him what to do, give him an opportunity to think and do it on his own. Whether he was right or wrong, but it gave him the chance to make his choice and do it the way.
Okay. That ties in with child initiated, and then again, giving him the repeated experiences. You had it there. She doesn't like the camera. Okay, number 2. What did Dr. Camille suggest to help the child deal with logic and thinking skills? Christy, I think you guys answered that one.
Formulate a problem and construct a situation where the children can think. Allow the child the time and the opportunities to find his own solutions.
Time and opportunity are 2 good ones, and she kept stressing those over and over again. I think in that video that we tend to keep doing things for them, we need to let them do them themselves. Okay, the second part of that, what specific activities can you think of to help the child to learn to think logically and learn to solve his or her own problems? You can come up with something that was more concrete. We had something. Carolyn, did you guys do that one yet?
We talked about sorting that we had done earlier in the year.
Okay, some of the activities that we had done with the hands-on, with our manipulatives.
Yes.
That type of sorting. Okay. One-to-one correspondence and maybe doing some classification skills. All right. Number 3, what's the teacher's role in the classroom?
Teacher's role.
Facilitator. Facilitator, that's a good one.
Okay.
Did she use that word?
Did she? I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. The teacher's,
Facilitator, go ahead.
the teacher's role is to have natural, holistic, informal instruction activities. And naturalistic is just a child getting involved with the environment. Some ways would be like to have some pennies, and then the child, the teacher could let the child explain and relate the pennies maybe to number, how many pennies are in there, but the child could come up with the answer, and that would be in the naturalistic setting. in the informal, she would also be involved, but it's more the child, the environment, and the adult. And then with a structured activity, she could do things that promote thinking. She would ask the child questions, how many do you think are here? What is more, what is less? Instead of telling them what to do.
Okay, so we're taking it step by step. And just like we talked about with the math skills, we're starting out with the very, very what? Basic or what? Concrete, and moving towards the abstract, which we do over time. Okay, the last one. Think of at least 3 suggestions you would give to a new teacher to help children learn to think logically. Mary?
Provide opportunities so that the child can observe and explore, and then they can do trial and error for the problem solving. And hands-on learning, where they can learn by doing, is more permanent type of learning. And be there as a guide and redirect when needed, but not necessarily doing all the teaching yourself. Let the child learn as you teach.
And those are all really good. The computer. Right. We worked on the computer last week, and that was a really interesting experience for our students. Especially when we had everybody that was learning, right? Playing with the mouse and just learning how to move it and everything else. Okay, any other comments about that video? Christy?
Well, I have one more suggestion for number 4, because like teachers do a lot of things in the classroom that they can allow the children to do instead of themselves. And I put down, you know, when it's time for them to do an arts and crafts and you see the teachers pulling the scissors out and then they pass them out and then they pull the glue out, give the one child the scissors, another child the glue balls, another child the boxes of crayons that they can pass out to their classmates.
Not only is that self-help skills, but it's also counting, it's also one-to-one, it's matching.
It just seems like there's a lot of things that the teachers do themselves that
we could let the children do.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, sort of wrapping it up, we've talked about some of the things that teachers should do working with children. Let them problem solve, let them work things out for themselves. The more they do themselves, the more it's going to make sense. Remember also, this is something we didn't say yet, that every child's connected is different. So they're all coming to us at different places. Okay, what we're going to do now is continue on. We're going to do some integrating some activities throughout the curriculum, thinking about some of the things that Dr. Kinney talked about.